Right. Yeah. I get to press all these buttons. Thank you, Lady of the Zoom, for recording us. So the path of initiations is something that elders and grandmothers and grandfathers are very familiar with. The path of initiation is a cosmology and a view that initiates people to the reality that we're not victims, there are no persecutors, there are no rescuers, and there's no duality. There is a portal called initiation. So as a bloodline shamanka, what I realized very early in my life is that not everybody could see or know or sense what was an initiation. I thought everybody could do what I could do. And this conversation today is very, very important because Bikbaye has gone through many initiations through his traditional medicine school, through the mystery school. I belong to a mystery school that's grounded in Siberia and in Mongolia. And I'm rooting the Golden Reindeer Moon Lodge teachings. And Jessica has agreed to participate in a 13 moon path, which will be a huge path of initiation for Jessica. She's just finished her first year of vision questing, and it's a 4-year protocol with Bill Pfeiffer. Thank you, Bill. And so for youth particularly, I just want to offer the initiation of apology. As a grandmother who is grandfathered by many grandfathers, and I named them this morning and I shook my rattle for them in thanks, I want to apologize to youth that your future that you thought you would have starting in 2019 and the future is not going to be what you thought you could have. And it's actually an initiation. It's an initiation into be present. This is what it is now. And the reality is virtual and parallel, and we can co-create through the elders, indigenous wisdom, and the old ancient ways of earth-based wisdom with youth, a new world, a new view, and a new protocol. And so this initiation today for Jessica Mortell and all those attuning to this is a real wonder. It is a place of, you know, we're sorry that you're so disappointed. Your life isn't what you thought it would be, but guess what? It is what it is. And we are here in the blessing of Mas Grande Purificado. We're here in this next phase of initiation of the planetary rising and the planetary ascension in this place in the universe. And so my granddaughter's making little postums with little symbols for us. So these little creature teachers are alive and well. So Jessica, I throw the torch in broad daylight to you. And thank you, Bikbaye, for being here with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It is an honor. And thank you so much, Grandmother Kaariinna, for initiating the initiation. It is so wonderful to be here. Bikbaye, thank you so much for your time. This is our second interview with you. So it is an honor to continue sharing your wisdom and your work in the world. And as Jima said, this is an initiation time for me as I get to speak with you, and just want to honor and take a moment to root into the land where each of us are, to take a deep breath together, to acknowledge this portal that we're opening, to feel the roots of the trees below us, the mycelial network, connecting in to the roots and the bones of our ancestors and the ancestors of the land that we're on. Honoring the people that have come before us, the beings, the creatures that live below us. Feeling all the way down into the center of the earth, the crystalline core. Breathing into the center of our beings, up out into the wings. Feeling the roots and the wings spreading, connecting, integrating is the theme. Feeling the star beings, the sun, Grandmother Moon. Honoring all of the directions centered in our hearts. I thank you with so much gratitude for opening this portal. In this space so we may move forward in a good way. So with that, I would love to ask Bikbaye. I have gone through several initiations, including this one as we speak. As Jima said, I just did a vision quest a couple months ago, and one of the key pieces is integration after initiation and how to continue on the way forward, to be compassionate with myself when I see the old patterns coming in, and just would love to hear any wisdom. I know you've been through many initiations. What has helped you most on your path for integrating this into your daily life?
Wow, that's a really good question. Because that has been the goal the entire time, and it's a non-ending path of discovery and trial and error of identifying those exact ways of doing that, because it's like updating ancient technology, but updating it to fit where we are now and where the world is now, and the cycle that we have entered. That's only going to we're only going to go deeper into that cycle of consciousness. So as I'm thinking of that question, I'm trying to think of actual, tangible, practical examples that might come to mind to demonstrate fusing the ideas, the knowledge of initiation into 2021 under the circumstances that humanity finds itself in at the moment. That's why it's a very good question. The best way that I can answer that is just from personal experience. And as I'm thinking about it, I've been able to acknowledge where whoever I am interacting with, that they are the same as I, meaning that there's no difference between anyone that is in my environment and myself. For that reason, I feel that there's a certain connectivity that we all have, whether we are aware of it or not. So being able to tap into that oneness, I guess would be a way to put it. Being able to tap into that oneness in those moments, it's not something that we necessarily have to control at that point. And the integration happens in those moments when we find ourselves in total harmony with whatever it is that we are communicating, whoever we're communicating to. Once we can harmonize ourselves with the environment, the integration of that happens very organically. So it's a little challenging for me to give a tangible example, because it's so many different situations and so many different perspectives that we are processing every day. So, wow, that's really a good question, Jessica. And it's really not I wish it was an easy way of answering that question, because there's, to honestly answer the question, there would have to be dialogue around what is that oneness, and how do we tap into that oneness where I don't see anyone different than myself as far as the basic, fundamental, existential human qualities. Now, I do know, and I wholeheartedly carry the understanding that initiation is the path to a higher understanding of who we are, is the path to development, evolution, transcendence. The only way to reach those plateaus is through initiation. It's very difficult to apply a lot of it, to be honest, Jessica. It's difficult to apply a lot of it due to many of us not, because we're seeing the world through different lenses. And because of that, it's difficult. It's almost like trying to solve a math equation, a geometry equation, when you've never studied math. But yet, when you realize that you are the geometry, then you see it becomes a different, organic things happen at that point. And not only once you realize it, but once you are in harmony with that geometry, it happens organically. But when we try to take it into our own hands, it can be difficult to apply certain concepts, because even the way we communicate in the concepts don't even fit the concepts themselves. So I think just having a basic understanding, a deeper understanding of the precepts, the purpose of initiation, it exposes different methods of investigation for us now. And that's what initiation is. It is us investigating. We're investigating. We are looking for ways of raising our qualities. And that is something that we're all doing on a daily basis, whether we are aware of it or not. We are working towards raising our qualities and evolving. But living in a world that does not have, or does not honor the same values, that's another part that makes it a little difficult for the integration, when the values are very different, but yet they're the same. And that's the enigma of the whole shebang. You know, so I'll try to sum up a response to your question as best as I can now, saying all that I just said. And I hope it's making some sense. I hope, because there's so many thoughts, that so much have to go into that. So much thought have to go into that question, really, to answer it honestly. Because every integration is not the same. And certain applications may take 2 or 3 different approaches before it can become integrated, because the first approach may be rejected right in the door. The second approach, someone just may think about it, but still may not move on it. The third approach, someone is wanting to do it, but yet it's something else that's holding them back. There's some kind of ambivalence. And sometimes it'll take 5 times to, now we can have an understanding, or at least get on the same page where we can develop an understanding and see how these applications apply. But there are certain things that apply regardless. There are certain things that apply regardless. The way that we approach our spirituality, that applies regardless. That is something that is not up for debate. Now, everyone has their own way of doing that, but that's where now we show the culture of humility, and allow that connection and allow individuals to connect to source in whatever way that they know how to connect to source. But that's an application that doesn't take any effort to integrate. It's interesting because there's not many that are integrating our ancestral technologies in modern times. It's not due to not knowing how, but it's due to the same question you just asked me. You know how the technology works, but yet and still, how do it fit into this environment to where it makes sense? Because that's it has to make sense to people. We only move on what makes sense to us. So that's the ultimate question. So I don't want to go on and on and on and on and on.
You're doing amazing. Thank you so much. And I would love to offer a reflection in what's landing in my body. And I have some follow-up questions, especially about the technologies that you speak to, because that resonates a lot. So thank you for sharing that and taking on such a big question. I know it's this is the work. How do we integrate the wholeness of who we are? Integrity is wholeness. And what really resonated in my body and the feeling I got is like, it's not letting go. It's accepting all of it. And how do we show up more fully in ourselves, as ourselves, using all of these initiations, which I loved your definition of initiation. It's just, my whole body's like vibrating with this feeling of being yourself in harmony and peace, and seeing the oneness that is intrinsically in all of us, that we are related and have different experiences, and we are all the same, and we're the same as the rock people, we're the same as the standing ones, we're this divine consciousness, and how to remember how to put that all back together to show up in modern times when we have all this technology, the new technology integrating with the old technology. And that is such a great question of how to show up with all of this imbalance and harmony. Those two words really stuck out to me. So I would love if you could expand on the ancient technologies and how, maybe perhaps a story from your life, how you've been integrating that into your daily life and using that as a model.
Well, one of the ancient technologies that we use they're actually portals. And these portals they are visually, if you look at it, it'll look like a shrine, but they're ancestral portals. So we honor the ancestral spirit, and we, how do I put it? There's a veneration that we consistently share and give to the ancestral spirits, to all of our ancestors, in understanding that because they are no longer in the flesh does not mean that they are absent. And we understand that they're even more powerful where they are now than they were while they were here in the flesh. So reaching them and nourishing them, clothing them, feeding them, they in turn do the same thing for us. And it's updated in the sense that we understand that there's not just one destiny, that there's a prenatal destiny, and then there's a conditional destiny that every human being has. A prenatal destiny is a destiny that was given to a human being 7 generations before they were born, according to our teachings. And it was given to that individual through from the father's mother. So it comes from the mother, 7 generations back through the father's bloodline. And that particular destiny is based on what was going on at that time. Meaning whoever that mother was, when you go back 7 generations, whatever was going on at that time, those were the wishes or the destiny that she set for her descendant who wasn't to come for 7 generations. Now, if we go back, we can imagine the time that we were in 7 generations ago. So just for an example, if that mother back then said, okay, I wish for Jessica to be able to have the means that she needs to take care of herself and her family. I wish for Jessica to be educated. I wish for Jessica to have a happy life, right? Now, fast forward 7 generations, Jessica's here. The world is a different place. So Jessica is educated. Jessica has the means to take care of herself and her family. Jessica may have a happy life, but that doesn't complete Jessica. There are still things that Jessica needs that that mother didn't consider, because at that time, there was no way of knowing what Jessica would need in everything. So this is where the conditional destiny comes in. And that's the updated technology, so to speak, because the conditional destiny is when we are able to make those connections with the ancestral spirits and take whatever it is that we're seeing now, the things that we want to see in our lives, the things we don't want to see in our lives, and we give them their offerings, and it shifts the destiny to become more updated based on what is going on now, meaning the destiny is not written in stone. It's more written in sand with the ancestral spirit versus just in stone, just by itself, to where if someone is, for example, addicted to substances, and I know many individuals, young and old, that are and has been for a long time. I've heard people react to those situations in a way where, to justify the person being in that state for so long, it was just God's plan, or God still has a plan for this person, or this is just how it was supposed to be. And we say no. We say no, it wasn't supposed to be that way. And we're going to turn this thing around, but we're going to need divine intervention with this. And that comes by way of the ancestral spirit. So that is one example of an update of a technology that we use, is the process of the ceremonial aspect of making that connection with the ancestral spirit through purification rituals and through other active, and we say technical, it's really technical, the spiritual realm and the work that we do in that realm is very technical, more so than non-technical. meaning it's very active. There's tools, there's things, you know. So that's one example that I can think of as one of those technologies. Another technology are the herbs, the natural herbs that we use for healing. That is something now that we're starting to see more of an integration of, right? But at the same time, it hasn't been an explosion, you know, to where our common fellow human being would look in that direction first before looking in the modern healing conventional direction. So we have a lot of work to do in that arena, but yet and still that has been integrated. And I tell you, that has been a wonderful, fantastic, and sometimes painful experience is integrating that aspect of the technology. Because sometimes you are forced to watch people that you care for. You've kind of forced to watch them suffer when the suffering wasn't necessary. But because of the conditioning to go to, you know, the more conventional means of health and, you know, healthcare, that's the frustrating part. We are losing so many of our elders and wisdom carriers and youth at very early ages are becoming more ill when it doesn't have to be the case. But the beautiful part of it is when I am able to offer a space where a person will feel comfortable enough to say, okay, Bikbaye, I'll try it, right? I say, here, try this herb for what you're dealing with, and let's see how this works for you, you know. And very reluctantly, okay, Bikbaye, I'll try it, but, you know, I don't know, just because it's you, I trust you, I'll try it. And for some that did that, to see them witness the results of that, and almost have like an epitome when it came to that, and they never went back, you know, to the old approaches. That's gratifying, you know. That part is gratifying. So with our youth, I used to well, since COVID, we kind of slowed down, but Conscious Youth, we had a program in several of the elementary schools here in LA. And it was an after school program, a rites of passage program. And one of the things that I used to do is bring the herbs to the school and show the, you know, the children and high school students as well, and talk about it and let them know what are the healing properties in this medicine. And you know, we would even talk about just common illnesses that people have, right? So I'm starting to think of more ways of how this has been integrated now, Jessica, as we're talking. So we talk about the healing properties of these herbs, but then we also talk about the different health issues that, just to comment, a cold, headaches, you know, just different things that is more common. But then I'll share natural ways of addressing all of them. And when it can be presented in a tangible way where the person can walk away from the understanding that, wow, with $5, I can go to the supermarket and get everything I need to heal myself, versus the stress of getting on insurance and going and getting medicines and things like that. That then becomes a way of integrating it as well, when we can demonstrate how practical it is. because I think that's what we all are attracted to. We all are attracted to really what is tangible for us. You know, what is tangible, because a lot goes into that. Convenience is one of those things we have to keep in mind as well. Initiation. Okay, here's an example between initiation and I don't know, I would say more just what's the opposite of that? Well, the non-initiation mindset. Initiation mindset is if you guest at someone's house and if they offer you the bed or the floor, you take the floor. Okay. The non-initiation mindset is if someone offers you the bed or the floor, you take the bed, right? Because you're looking for the most comfort and you want to be comfortable. And the bed in your mind is more comfortable than the floor. That may be true, but the bed is worse for your health than the floor over the long run. So sometimes comfort and gratification is a barrier. It becomes a barrier for long-term growth and development. The floor may be a little uncomfortable, but it's firm. So when you're laying there, and even if you're turning over at night, you're using your muscles. You're using your muscles. And after a while, your body adapts to that firm. I still sleep on the floor. Wow. We have a big bed and I still sleep on the floor. Yeah. I've tried. It's too soft, and I've gotten like firm mattresses. Nah, it don't work. It don't work. And of course, you're on the floor. You know, and especially if you're on the ground outside, you know, you connected in a different way. So through integrating natural ways of healing ourselves, through educating individuals of things that are very practical within their reach, because the communities that I do work in many communities, but the most of the time I'm working in the homeless sector, in the youth sector. So all of the individuals that comprise those populations, if whatever it is that we're doing to try to offer anything for them to hold on to, for them to reconnect to, we have to make it plain and tangible to fit their situation. So integrating the technology of herbs through educating, making things practical for them to understand, integrating even the languages. Here's another one. How are we integrating the language? See, Jessica, you got my wheel spinning now. So one of the ways that I also integrate the language as well, and the language I'm speaking of is the Medu-Neter, which is the hieroglyphs. People know it's the hieroglyphic language of ancient Egypt. But the hieroglyphs is, you know, it's like another, that can be translated to the sacred writings, the holy writings. It's not a traditional name, but anyway, this is a language, and this language is something that allows us to do more than just communicate. It's a language that actually stimulates through vibration certain passages of our brain that allows for a smoother flow of blood to get to these certain areas that are pretty restricted of blood flow. As those passages are stimulated, so the blood can get to these areas, our brain actually grows because it's a muscle. And we're able to use a much greater capacity of it. So, and knowing that when I'm in the schools or anywhere, it can be a Zoom training that I'm facilitating, or in the schools with the youth. I will integrate just by starting with how to say greetings, right? Something like that, you know, and that's ujjayi, right? So I'll stick with that. And every morning when I come in for a week, it's ujjayi. And then I'll say, okay, today you're gonna learn how to say goodbye. So for the whole year, they may get 20 words for the whole year. But those 20 words is like a treasure. You know, it's like a treasure. Another way of integrating, we've been able to integrate what people would call meditation. Now they updated it, they call it mindfulness. The updated name for it. But that is also something that we've been able to integrate in the schools out here in LA, and is the first time that has happened at the schools where our conscious youth program was able to do it. And it was amazing. It was amazing. And here's how I did that. So now imagine I had all 4th and 5th grade boys, right? All 4th and 5th grade children, boys. And energy everywhere, right? Oh man, you know, just everywhere. Now, many of them have also been diagnosed with ADHD, anxiety disorder, and other behavioral disorders just due to their environment. But the attention spans were like 5 seconds, you know, and either, you know, they're fighting or they're yelling or they're cursing, because the schools where we had our program was where they needed it the most, right? So that's normal for that environment, right? And so I had to make it a competition for them to buy into it, right? So it's like, okay, let's see who can just sit quiet for the longest, just sitting in your chair. Let's see who can just do that for the longest. Whoever do it, you get a prize. Okay, so now they're in competition with each other. They're not even really focused on anything, the reason why we're doing it, right? But they do it. And now they getting some confidence about themselves. Like, wow, I was able to sit quiet for 3 minutes. Like, whoa. Okay, now next week or 2 weeks later, let's see who can sit down with their legs folded and with their back straight and just be quiet. Now we do that. They're in competition. So we did that up until before the end of the year. They were all sitting on their knees on a hardwood floor. Now, mind you, when we first did, I said, okay, now sit on your knees and do it. 5 seconds in, they falling all over like, oh, no, this hurt. Oh, ouch, ooch. Before the end of the program year, they all were able to sit on their knees, eyes closed, quiet for 15 minutes. Shocked the entire school, all of the administration. And this is no way me patting myself on the back. It's to demonstrate the integration. You ask, how do I integrate it? Well, it's, you know, I'm starting to see like more of how to respond to that. And that's just one of the methods is, it's like using their strengths and me knowing that they're in competition with each other about everything. Okay, let's use that energy, right? Let's use that energy and use it to get, good outcomes. And that's another thing. Initiation really, it planted a deep understanding that the energies that we use to do good is the same energies that we use to do bad. That same fire we came here with and is always going to be with us. So it's really about redirecting the same energy. So I kind of look at it like that. Redirected their energy of competition in the way where it became something they can benefit from. So those are 3-4 examples. I'll probably be able to think of some more if we keep talking. But yeah, I hope that.
That was so helpful. Thank you so much. And when you're speaking about using the energy that's already there, and one of my dear teacher's friends, Robin Vogel, I took a training with her, and don't overload the donkey was like the biggest piece of advice that I got from her that just made so much sense when you were speaking of little bite-sized chunks and how can you weave it into what you're already doing and not I tend to get overwhelmed and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do my daily practice and it's going to be 3 hours long and it's just not sustainable. So the convenience you spoke to, making it accessible and integrating it and weaving it, this weaving of the old technologies with the new technologies, the language piece, yes to herbs, yes. I'm studying herbalism right now. So that really just yum. So thank you so much. I'm curious, we still have a little time left. I'm not sure how long you'd like to go and you can continue talking. For as long as you'd like, I have all afternoon. I would love to hear a story of, I know you had an intense initiation and have been integrating that along your journey when you left Chicago. And if there are any other examples from your life of, an intense initiation or something you struggled to integrate and how you moved through that. I know I'm moving through this vision quest and my giveaway from that experience was the profound gratitude I have for my life. And when you're on, or your body thinks you're dying, you're mentally like, I'm not dying, I'm just fasting, and it's 3.5 days in and you're in the woods and by yourself and getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. Things get into perspective. And I was just so rooted in gratitude and crying in prayer every day, making prayer ties for the life I have for my family, and all of the bullshit just fell away. All those things that we think matter don't. And I come back to that in my meditations, and I got a little frustrated after that experience. I was reaching and grasping for the high of the gratitude and that feeling of oneness with the land and just that experience. And I don't know if there's anything that you can share that, you went through kind of a challenging integration and what supported you along that path.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Jessica. It was incredibly challenging, almost it was painfully challenging once my paradigm started to shift, when I started my initiation with my master, who passed away in 2009 because those that were closest to me, I was just really excited to share so much new information that we were not taught in the schools, we were not taught in our churches, we were not, and I grew up as a Christian, going to the Baptist church. My whole family were, church going folk. So when I came into the new information through initiation, I was just excited to share. And it was in a way where I felt like I hit the jackpot, and I wanted to share all of this money that I just hit. I just won. But in doing so, it's a little difficult because the opposite effect happened and backfired, and all of the stigma that comes with an awakening, that came, and that made it very challenging for me, because I felt like I had to keep it all in for myself. And I knew that everyone could benefit from it, not just me, but everybody could if they only, accepted it, in my mind. Then like, but why, you got to accept this. Don't this make perfect sense? Like, come on. Like, so that was challenging. And I had to navigate through that without taking it personal. And it took me a while to get to that point, because I not only did I take it personally, it was hurtful. It was hurtful. But that turned out, great, because as a result of continuing through initiation and advancing, and over the years, the same people who didn't understand, now they have a deeper understanding, and are very respectful and honor and invite me for conversations about the same things that they, man, you crazy, you brainwash, all of those things, but further down the line, there's been initiations also that took place outside of the country, that was challenging because everything about the environment was just so different. And in some of those areas, I didn't know anyone. Just to share a small example, one of my initiations was I went to London, but I had a one-way ticket and a dream, and that was it. And I didn't know anyone there. I didn't know where I was going to stay. I didn't know any of that. But there's a knowing, and I knew for somehow that was a part of my initiation. And I went over there, and I stayed a little over a year. And during that time, I was homeless over there. And that was an incredible experience in so many ways. That initiation was incredible. I learned some incredible survival skills in that way, skills that are ancient skills, practical things, ways of survival that I would have never known had I not experienced homelessness. But being in another country, not knowing anyone, no cell phones, no money, and surviving off of Snickers, Snicker bars. And the chips with vinegar on it. That's how they like their chips over there, with vinegar on it. Those, I lived off of those things for several months. And then being taken in by a poor European woman, very poor European woman, and taken in by this woman in this little, looked like a oh man, it's like just this little, the entire apartment was like, I don't know, maybe 300, 400 square feet or something like that. She had a dog, a mongrel dog who was handicapped named Jack. She had a weasel, a cat named Anya, a daughter and a son who was in prison. And she said, hey, here's this couch. It looked like a couch out the junkyard somewhere, spring sticking out of it. And she said, it's not much, but you're welcome to it. And that couch looked like a waterbed to me. And we stayed up every night drinking hot cocoa and laughing until the sun came up. And that was a great experience and initiation for me. And ultimately, after feeling like I got all of the lessons that I was to get while I was there, I went to the U.S. Embassy and threw myself on the mercy of the embassy and said, hey, I'm a U.S. citizen and I'm homeless. And the next day they had me on the flight back to the U.S. But that initiation was pretty intense, because during the time of just kind of wandering and sleeping on the benches where I could, I met individuals who were in very, very low and destructive mind states, suicidal. And just by me not having any destination and just walking around at 2:30 in the morning in some neighborhood where I didn't know where I was, I run into a stranger and we have a conversation. And little did I realize that conversation distracted him from going to commit suicide, which he was about to do before we met. So that was pretty intense, an intense initiation. And of course, my master was from Africa, so a lot of it was there. And yeah, there were some very intense parts of the initiation there. The most notable is when my master, when he transitioned, and I was there with him. And when he transitioned, I had to, I sat in the seat that he sat in. So all of the students we had everywhere, I became the leader of the mystery schools. And for the next 5 years, that within itself was an initiation. And maybe that's another interview. But as far as, that responsibility itself is an initiation. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to ramble.
Yeah,
Jessica.
that is amazing. I just want to honor, holy moly, you've been through some amazing experiences. And I'm particularly interested in what helped you get through the hardest parts of that. Like we heard you speak to discomfort and that you still like sleeping on the floor. And, there's this edge to discomfort. There's, when it's too far and you need to retract a little to be safe, and that's okay too. If you go too far, those are some of the hardest and best lessons in life, when you go beyond your boundaries. What helped you through those really challenging moments of wandering around and the intensity of that experience of changing the trajectory of somebody's life?
Yeah, it was annoying, Jessica. That's the only thing that it was. It was annoying. It was really annoying. Now, I come later to understand that I came here with that knowing, but I didn't know it at the time. But it was just a deep knowing that what I was subjecting myself to, because I felt perfectly safe the entire time. And there was literally no fear. It was an excitement that I had while going through that experience. Although it was tough and challenging, but there was an excitement to it. That excitement was based on the knowing that I couldn't explain. Now I fully get it. Now I can look back on it and talk about it. And I know all of the lessons that I got from it. And I've integrated all of those lessons from that part of my initiation. So it was the knowing. Now that knowing, I don't think that's something that we control. I don't think that's something that we dictate. A knowing is always there. It's always been there. Now we can tap into it in deeper ways, but that knowing is in all of us. It's in all of us. So the deeper we can tap into that knowing, that's what takes away the fear. That's what takes away the thoughts of or the projections that are fear-based, because all of it is based. Fear is at the root of all of our inadequacies. Fear is at the root of all of our misunderstandings. Fear is at the root of it, because with the misunderstanding, we dialogue long enough, we can get an understanding. But many don't want that understanding. Why? Because there is a knowing. They know, we all have a knowing. We all know. Now we either embrace it or we run from it. When we embrace it, the challenges that come up, we can navigate a little easier because we know where it's going. We know where it's going to end up based on where we are in the sequence of events. With that knowing there, that knowing is the bigger picture, is what the knowing is. It's not so much something that is right in front of our eyes that we can see. With these eyes, the knowing comes from this eye. And we tap into that one. Then as things come up, yeah, just the human side of us, we might react in a way that, might throw us off balance. But with that knowing, it helps for it to fall off. But how do you tap into that knowing is the question. And once you tap into that knowing, how do you stay there? Because once you tap into it, you can't not know. If someone tell you, hey, 1 + 1 is 2, and if you can prove that that's a fact, you will always know that. You can't take that out of your brain now. And because we all come with this knowing, this is why I can say we all really know. Now, how do we tap into it? And what is the barriers that is preventing us from tapping into it? The biggest one, fear. Fear is at the root of it. And with that knowing, the fear dissolves, because knowing that whatever our biggest fear is, whether it's death, some people, death is a fear. But the knowing, it comes through understanding. And it comes through many of the things in initiation. It contributes to that knowing over time. But that knowing knows. It knows. So, yeah, I don't know. It's the knowing. It's the knowing. I don't know, how to really, because that's not something that you can teach. That's not something that you can teach. And sometimes it's hard to articulate. As you can see, I'm struggling now, and I'm a poet. I shouldn't be struggling with words, but I am, because that knowing is where all of our medicine is. That's where all of our strength is. That's where all of our medicine is. Because that knowing, it activates everything else that you're a part of, that entire fabric. It activates it. It activates it in a way that fits the vibrations of that knowing, and it reverberates, and things manifest. And the strength that that we need to get through things, it happens without the effort. When things are effortless, that's when they are in harmony. When we are in harmony with the knowing, with our knowing, that's when it becomes an aid and a tool to move past anything that comes up. Anything that comes up. So the question is, are you, and I'm not speaking to you, Jessica, but are you tapped into your knowing? And if you are tapped into your knowing, then you wouldn't see me any different than yourself. You wouldn't see my challenges any different than your challenges. Or the way I move past my challenges any different from the way you move past your challenges. Now, if we're not tapped into that knowing, where there's doubts, there's fear, there's uncertainty about who you are, because it's not about the world. None of this is about the world. It's about you in the world. The world gets the world. How old is this world? How many lessons you think the world is learning? The world don't need any more lessons. We're here for that. We're here for that. So that knowing is the destination. That's what we want to pursue. And it's through these applications, through these technologies, and just slowly integrating them little by little. Next thing you know, you wake up and there's this greater sense of enlightenment now. It's like, wow, it happened overnight. No, it happened just little by little. And every step we can take closer to that knowing, we start to see everything else in our visual reality start to shift. But the knowing is through here. And that's something that is cultivated. It's not necessarily something you say, okay, well, go do this, and you'll be able to tap into it like that. No, we already tapped into it. We all tapped into it already. We're all tapped into it already, but we're looking through these eyes. And those eyes, we don't need those eyes. We don't need those eyes. We can see without these eyes. We can see the past and the future. How about that? Eyes closed, we can see the past and the future and see it visually, right? We can talk without moving our mouths. And hear. If we covered up our ears, we can hear. If you said Bikbaye, just Bikbaye, but said it in your mind, you can hear yourself say that. That's the source. And that's the knowing. What is that? How is that? You can hear it, like in your own, you can hear it. So that's the knowing. And that's the part of us that allows us to move through those challenges, Jessica.
Thank you so much for naming that. And wow, I am just filled with so much gratitude, and the reflection that you are is such a beautiful mirror of, we already have everything we need It's all inside of us. We know the knowing, we know what we need to do. And letting go of the fear and integrating the fear and honoring the fear and not letting it control us, to move from love. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for all you've been through to get here. Thank you, Jima. Thank me. Thank all of the ancestors. Thank Talal for the future ancestors. Just want to really yum, yum, yum. This was such a juicy conversation, and I'm so excited to wrap it up and make an offering to the Co-Create Avatars Network. So I want to turn it over. Jima, do you have any final questions or thoughts? I feel like that was a perfect closing point from Bikbaye.
Well, the sun is now shining on my face. So we brought the sun to the sun, to the sun, to the sun, to the sun, to the mother. 7 generations back to Source Woman. So, you know, I mean, Bikbaye, as soon as you said yes, the energy starts moving through the mystery schools that we study in, and through the mystery schools and through our responsibilities to be sovereign and to take the seat of sovereignty and to accept the responsibility of being throned and enthroned. And so today was an uplifting of what our team has been going through, what our council has been going through. I relish how my beloved Jessica is going to transcribe this and offer this to our readership, but specifically to the team that's closest to the fire, to the council that's closest to the fire, to reignite our fire, not to look at each other, but to see the fire within each other. And to see the light within these physical eyes that leads into this enlightenment. And yeah, you know, I've been playing with musicians lately. Musicians are coming to me, and I'm studying how to coach genius musicians, how to coach genius singers, how to coach these people, and how to get them on my team without me fully remembering that I'm a musician and a singer. So I've had to remember that I'm a musician and a singer. I've had to remember that I'm part of this huge orchestration, which has been really lovely, which is why I love working with youth. It's just like, okay, Kaariinna, you know, you remember, you can do this. You sang in many lifetimes. So one of the songs that was coming through is, it's in all of us. It's in every one of us to be true. Yes, there's you. Yes, there's you, is a Kaariinna variation of an ancient song.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is in every one of us. And I'd love to close with that song and an assignment that we find the singer who sang that song, but more importantly, the one who wrote it. And as a sovereign being, I really want to remember us and all of our readership and our listenership to remember that we are authoring a new script, that this has never before been written, that this coming together of the ancient technology as an embrace for the smaller, limited technical technology that we're using called Zoom and internet, it's a much smaller picture than our great vast cosmovision. And that only by coming together and having these conscious conversations can we actually raise the vibration and move us towards this new level of this parallel reality that the dreams are coming true. And so thank you. You helped me remember my prenatal destiny. I was thinking, oh yeah, I came in with this. I remember this. My antlers are here. I remember this. So thank you so much. It takes many to remember, and it takes this vibrational harmonic to remember it fully. So thank you so much, Bikbaye. Thank you so much, Mac, for holding space. And beloved Jessica, mwah, yay.
Hey, Bikbaye, do you have any final closing words?
Yes, there should be nothing comfortable about initiation.
Hey. Gracias. And just to close this portal, I want to thank this land, this heart, the beauty of Pachamama. Thank you to the star beings. Thank you to the grandmother moon, to Father Sky. Thank you to the sun that's illuminating Jima's beautiful face. May we integrate step by step, moving forward on our journeys towards enlightenment, towards the knowing. towards the beloved inside of each of us. Mm. Gracias, gracias. Thank you.
Say, do
May we all enjoy our homelessness.
Yes. And how do you say thank you? And can you say the language name again?
Yes, it's the Medu Neter.
Mm.
Medu translates to like language, and Neter is where the word nature is derived from. But Neter is the only way we know how to say God. Well, if you're saying multiple gods, it's Neteru. The U makes it plural in that language. But it's the Medu Neter, meaning the language of the gods. And we say thank you, it's Duau.
Duau. Duau.
Duau. And we say you welcome is Nini.
Nini. Mm. Mm.
Yeah,
Duau.
so Nini.
Mm. Thank you to everyone joining us and tuning in. We will be back for the next new moon, so stay tuned and make sure to follow all of Co-Create Avatars and what we're doing in Bikbaye. We will put your conscious youth movement links in all of the ways to stay connected, and just thank you so much for all the work you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you all. Grandmother Kaariinna, much peace and love to you.